Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back from the weekend, everybody. How you doing? Welcome to the OddsShopper EV Strategy Show. It's Dave Lochran and Greg Ehrenberg breaking it all down, finding some good bets today. Looking for a little bounce back, man. Variance can be a bitch sometimes. And Sunday, slight win for me. Saturday, not great. Went out for a little birthday dinner. Not my birthday yet. It's coming up, but we did like a Saturday birthday dinner with some friends and family. And I had gotten a ton of bets in all day. I get home after a nice dinner, belly's full, slight buzz going on, Greg. Lay down in bed, pull up the pick 'em, and by God, it was an ugly sight. So looking for a bounce. It happens. It's going to happen. It is the way it is. And if you zoom out on the month, it's been a phenomenal month. I couldn't have ever expected not to have another couple red days. But when it happens, you got to weather that storm, man. You got to have that fortitude to get through it.
Yeah, it's funny. I think it was like 14 winning days in a row and then 7 losing days in a row or something like that. Like in the grand scheme of things, if you're just looking at, hey, 21 days in a month, 14 are profitable, 7 are negative, good. But at the same time, too, you look at it, it's like, it's annoying that it's like all the losing days in a row, all the winning days in a row when you're in the midst of the losing days being in a row.
Anyway, let's get back on track, man. That's all we can do. We get back on track. We keep grinding. Good slate of games today, 8 NBA games, little respite from college basketball until Wednesday, I believe that is. Brett, question. I feel like I'm getting more over since the V3 release. It seems to cause me to get more conflicting bets. Example, over PRA, but unders, points, and rebounds. Yeah, what do you make of that, Greg?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm actually messaging. I thought it was a really good point that he brought up. So I'm messaging with one of the devs right now because you could certainly have a scenario where both of those bets individually could be plus EV. Now, with that said, there's a chance you may not want to place those bets both for yourself because of the fact that they're clearly negatively correlated when you consider that these are very similar markets. They're not exactly the same. Because he's saying that, one of them is a PRA and the other one is a points and rebounds. Strong correlation, not exactly the same, though. So what I actually did right now was I had messaged the devs about the possibility of creating a filter that people could turn on where if you place a bet, it automatically hides not just that bet, but any related bets to it, which would take this into account. Now, it doesn't have to be, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't place both sides of that, Brett. But with that said, I could understand why you might not want to.
Yeah, I get it fully. I'm glad. We'll keep people updated on that as well. Anthony, is there data to the background trends towards them as far as explain to me what you mean by that? It's purely market-based here, but yeah, they're all plus EV bets. It's a market-based approach. So explain what you mean by that. Maybe I can help you out a little bit more. Anyway, let's get into it. We got the new parlay generator, which is quite fun. That actually helped me turn what I thought was going to be a negative day into a positive day, slight positive. I used the parlay builder when there were a bunch of DK bets up yesterday, Greg, and ended up hitting a 6-legger on DraftKings.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, spicy. I'm not going to lie. It was a slightly positive day, but that helped.
Yeah, it all helps for sure. And like the thing that's funny too is, so even though over the last week I was negative every day, it was a negative 1.6% ROI for the week. So it's not like I got destroyed on a day-to-day basis. It was just like slight negative days. So obviously big month overall, and it still has been. But yeah, the weekend, anytime you can hit a big parlay like that, it's always going to help.
Yeah, and I'm limited on DraftKings, so clearly it was not a big win, right? But yeah, man. Also, just throwing this out there, yeah, I had 2 awful days and was still only minus 2.8% ROI last week, but I was 12% ROI the week before that, 8% ROI the week before that, 5% the week before that, 6% the week before that. So how much can I really be complaining? Right. So, it is what it is. Anthony, now, because that type of data is, it's not predictive at all. Like 8 of 10, like last 10 data, it's just simply not predictive.
Yeah. Ignore it. Is answer. So a couple of data points as to why. So first off, last 10 games means 0. Honestly, even the entire season means close to nothing. So to have a relevant sample size of bets that we have found for it to actually mean anything, you need about 1,000, a sample size of about 1,000 bets. So anything you're looking at, Anthony, that's like, for this, you're looking at 10 games. And I know that it's just an example, but if you're using 10 games, it means nothing. If you're using 50 games, that also kind of means nothing. So you would want anything that has a sample size of like at least 1,000 to draw any actual conclusions from it. The other part of this too is if you look at a player's last 10 games, there's so much data missing there, especially this point in the season. Like if you're looking at, for instance, Luka, you're going to be looking at some games where he played with LeBron and some games where he didn't play with LeBron. Wildly different. If you're like, oh my God, Luka's points prop is 29.5, but look at all these games he scored over 30 points recently. Yeah. Points prop was 34.5 in the game that LeBron was out. So like, think of that example and why some of those last 10 games really wouldn't matter that much when you consider that some of those factors you're not considering at all.
Or look at like Quentin Grimes. If you were to say, oh, Grimes went over in 8 of his last 10, yeah, but what, like if you're using points, Greg, right? Mm-hmm. If you're using points, what did his points prop look like on those first handful of games compared to what his points prop is now, right? So like, let's just say it was, I'm just throwing a random number out there, like 19.5 points. And you're like, oh man, he's gone over his points prop in 8 of the last 10, but now his points prop is 26.5. It's not the same prop. It's not the same thing at all.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, I mean, the other thing, too, is some of the Quentin Grimes stuff and just why NBA, especially this time of the year, moves around so much. Nick Nurse came out and he said, we're going to limit the minutes of Quentin Grimes going forward. He did it for one game. He played limited minutes. And the next game, he's like in the DFS optimal lineup. He plays 40 minutes, scores 1 billion fantasy points. It's like, all right, well, we just heard this information a couple of days ago, and now it's something that's completely different. Also, so Anthony had said the simulation of 1,000 games. So these projections that we have here, it's market-based. It's not based on simulations. And when I'm talking about sample size, it's more referring to, all right, so I'll pull up rebounds here, right? So you look at the historical results, and you can see that in the rebounds market on BetMGM, we have about 2,000 bets for the year. The average EV that we had projected here was 2%, average OS rating 2.7%, and we ended up coming out with those bets actually having a 3.2% ROI. So I would look at that and say, hey, we're doing very well against BetMGM in the rebounds markets with a very reliable sample size. Therefore, this is a market that I want to be betting on. Like that's what I'm referring to when it comes to the relevant sample size.
Let's play some bets. I think we got a lot up right now. A good amount for DraftKings, a good amount for BetMGM. Not as much for FanDuel right now, but we can keep an eye on that. I've been getting good volume on FanDuel. It just hasn't broke my way the past few days, but it's been a great month on FanDuel. So we'll keep doing it. Where do you want to start? Of course, we always have these boosts on DraftKings as well if we wanted to build something out there.
Yeah, I was just pulling up the FanDuel bets to see what was on the board right now, just to isolate any individual ones. We've got Obi Toppin for under 8.5 points here. That looks pretty good in a market that you and I both like to bet on FanDuel. So if you want to just bet a single, we do have Obi Toppin under 8.5 points, minus 112 on FanDuel.
I bet that already, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. I mean, look, when it comes to, I'm trying to bet everything I can, So, yeah, try and get it quick. But the old parlay builder, for what it's worth, is still there. So like if we wanted to build out a same game parlay, we can still do it with that. But we should definitely go into the new parlay generator and see what we can get for DraftKings. Because I believe right now we have, and what Greg's doing, he's selecting that DK portfolio. So now when you generate parlays, it's only going to be DraftKings parlays, right? It makes it way easier. You can go in and sort by book, but I like being able to just sort my portfolio and know exactly what I'm getting the moment I do it.
What do we want to do? How many parlays do we want to build? How many legs in each parlay?
4 legs, 3 legs.
4 legs. And I'll just select 25. Let's see how many of these we could build.
Yeah.
Pretty good amount.
Yeah. Very solid. And I wanted to say one more thing. The one thing I look at too, like I'm looking at it right now, is like if I'm losing, am I getting more CLV or is it worse? My CLV here, like of all of these bets I have on FanDuel today, I have one that's moved against me and it's by 2 cents. So if that starts to be, more abundant, then I'll start fading that. But yeah, all right. So let's take a look at some of these parlays. You added it straight to the bet slip here.
Yeah, I was just showing people what happens when you go to the bet slip. And then if you wanted to, you could have them hidden, but not going to do that for right now. All right, so we have here Orlando. I'm also trying to figure out what some of the matchups are for today, because some of these might be same game parlays.
No, they can't be.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was just double checking. Because when I exported it, some of them were showing up as same game parlays.
Really? That shouldn't be the case with this tool right here. We shouldn't be building any same game parlays.
It might have been something that was saved on that screen from before.
Yeah, maybe you had something. By the way, I bet a college prop from the PortfolioEV tool. Actually, well, never mind. I was going to say it got 11 points of CLV on the total, Greg, and then I realized it was in the second half, so that makes sense. But it's I didn't know it started yet. Look, please don't blame me for not knowing when Incarnate Word and Jacksonville started today. Brett said his parlay generator came up with no parlays. Weird. I don't know. What are your OS settings on your DraftKings portfolio? Could be something like that as well. But all right. So Paolo Banchero under 1.5 threes. Drew Holiday under 4.5 assists. Chris Middleton over 1.5 threes. And Cameron Johnson under 2.5 threes. 15% EV. Is that plus 2,300?
That is plus 2,300. A lot. So I think a bunch of these are plus money bets.
Are there any teams you're fading right now based on potential injury statuses?
There's so many players on the injury report right now. Like it's so hard to say, but the reality is it's almost every game for the most part has some sort of key injuries tied to it. So just for reference, like these are just the key players too. Zion Williamson is questionable. Jason Tatum's questionable. Anthony Edwards is questionable. Domantas Sabonis is questionable. Sabonis, and the way the Kings handle the news, the most nonsense ever. I've never done this before in my life, Lofty. I predicted an injury on Live Before Lock the other day. I told people to do a same game parlay of alt unders for Domantas Sabonis. He had a hamstring injury, and they said he was going to be reevaluated in like 3 weeks. They brought him back in a week. And I said, bet the same game, bet unders, same game parlay unders, alt unders, every Sabonis got hurt in the first quarter. So
that's crazy. So
you
nailed it.
We might have the same thing today. They just said Sabonis is going to be reevaluated in 10 days with an ankle sprain. He's questionable today. It's been 5 days since they said that he was going to be reevaluated in 10 days. Like, okay. I kind of understand why. They're right on the fringe of the play-in game, and they're really trying to push to make sure they're in. But it seems at the expense of they're making Sabonis play at like 50% health, and he's just continually leaving games early right now.
All right, I like it. Let's keep that in mind. But you would assume, though, that the books are pricing this team for Sabonis to be out. They have to be. They've got to be.
Some of the lines are. I mean, the other part of this, Malik Monk is also questionable. So, like the entire team,
there you go, yeah.
I don't even know if they have lines. I don't even know if there are lines up for the Kings right now. But I was just reading, like, Anthony Davis is questionable. He might return. He said, we had a report 2 weeks ago that Anthony Davis said he didn't want to play the rest of the season. He's questionable today. Aaron Gordon also questionable. Kelly Olynyk questionable. Yves Missi questionable. So anyway, to answer your question before, there's definitely some injury situations here, but like it's impossible to avoid all of them.
Yep. All right, cool. I want to build out a same game parlay as well here.
Okay.
But we'll have to do that from the parlay builder.
Yeah. Do you want to do that right now, or do you still want to look at some of these?
We can do whatever you want. I mean, I'm placing these as we go from my phone. Okay. So I already placed a bunch of them as you were talking right there. And I had already placed a bunch of these earlier as well. But yeah, look, you mix and match them. So you've got Middleton in those three. You have Holiday in those three. Yep. Banchero in those three. And then all three different I mean, really, this is like a DFS approach to betting when you think about it, right? Like you're getting exposure to these higher bets, and then you're mix and matching some of these bottom ones. If you go with 3 legs, you can mix and match even better there, which makes it, which makes it better. Pete Shepard, Greg and Lafayette, are you guys using conservative as your EV tool setting in your portfolios or balanced? I'll be completely honest. I don't know, because it doesn't really make a difference. I'm just betting what the books allow me to bet. I know Greg is the same way, but I would just go with the recommended one. I think that's balanced, right? If you want to go real quick, if you want to go with aggressive, you're still going to see great results. It's just a matter of bigger swings. You're going to see some more swings. That's all.
I conservative generally best, just because that's going to flatten out the bet sizes a little bit and allow you to place more. So for the conservative, that's recommended if you're going to be placing 100 plus bets. There's the balanced, which is for 50 bets. And then there's aggressive, which I forget what the number is, but it's like 15 to 20 bets or something like that. Some of it's going to depend on how many it is that you are betting, Pete. But I do recommend you try to get as many bets as possible, which is either going to be by going to conservative or just flat betting everything.
Yep. And if you think about it like this, Pete, if you have $1,000 bankroll and you go with the flat bet size setting, that means that you're going to get $10 per bet, 1% of your bankroll, which means you'll have 100 bets of $10 each day. Like that's what you should have if you were to max your bankroll out, right? Rusty, love the parlay builder. Yeah, it's awesome, man. It's going to be super helpful. And then we're going to end up having, but here's the cool thing about it, Greg. This is why it kind of feels like GPP style, like plus EV tournament style from a DFS day or from a betting perspective. You're going to have days where like the Holiday, Middleton, and Banchero props all lose, but then you're also going to have days where all 3 of those win, and you just start knocking off not 1 or 2, but like 5 4-leg parlays. So again, you got to have an iron stomach, but if you, or just size them small, size your bet small, and it won't make a difference.
Yeah. And then also, because you use the comparison to DFS, and this does kind of play like a DFS optimizer. You could also go in here and let's say this would be the equivalent of capping your exposure. If you went in here and you said, all right, I don't want any more than 2 times that these bets are used individually. And then maybe you wanted to also pare down the amount of legs you're placing per parlay. Then you could go 3 legs per parlay, limit 2, and then you generate this and nothing will show up in more than 2 of the different parlays. And then you have a little bit more diversity to the bets you're placing.
Yep. Perfect. Yeah. You don't need it. You can spread you can spread your exposure around and not have to worry about that. It's totally a risk tolerance thing though. So wherever you're at on that is where you're at. All right. DraftKings does have the same game parlay boost today. Same game parlay X or plus, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be all 4 legs from the same game. So if we go into DraftKings, let's see what comes up here. DraftKings NBA. And I want to make sure any hidden bets I have are not hidden anymore. Larry, when I click place bet, does it take it out of the parlay builder? It seems to in the app. If you click, you can show hidden bets in the parlay builder.
Yeah, it depends if you have it hidden or not.
Yeah. By the way, just for the sake of making things easy, I've been calling that the parlay generator, and this the parlay builder, because that's what it is. It's generating parlay.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Can we make a same game parlay? Let's see. Same game X. We only need 2 from the same game.
All right. So we've got Orlando Lakers, Washington, Toronto, Boston, Sacramento, Brooklyn, Dallas, Indiana, Minnesota, Boston, Sacramento, Orlando, LA. Ooh, we've got a few here from Orlando, LA.
Yeah. As long as we're not including Derek White, we can do whatever we want. I'm not doing it, man. I want a Derek White. I won a Derek White bet the other day. I also got trolled by him because I had a few spots yesterday where I had a lot of CLV because I beat the books to news. One of them was I bet a bunch of Celtics overs just as guys got ruled out unexpectedly yesterday. So I got a lot of CLV on that.
and I lost Derek White over points by the hook when I beat the line moved 2 points, like 2 full points, and moved in my favor. I think I bet it at, like, I don't remember the exact line. I want to say I bet it at 18.5 and it closed at 20.5. Whatever it was, it moved 2 points and it lost on the hook on that one. He trolls no matter what. By the way, Zion was just ruled out, so that was one of the players we were looking
Same
at
with
before.
TJ McCollum.
Oh, okay. So McCollum was on it. McCollum wasn't even on the injury report.
Misi is now questionable.
Yeah, he was. So that stays the same for him. But yeah, Zion out, McCollum out. That was, I mean, like, you could have reasonably made an educated guess, but he wasn't on the injury report before.
I just want to see. Yesterday that happened. That news broke, and from a different game, and I sniped in real quick when Cade was ruled out, and I cashed out of a. Was that yesterday or the day before? Either way, I cashed out of a bet that would have ended up going very poorly for me. So you got to do it super quick, but I always try and look at that as well. Yeah, it looks like I don't have anything significant there, so we're good. Anyway, let's build this same game parlay.
Let's do it.
Levi Kempa. So I get you guys are using these lines to build these parlays. So also assuming you straight bet all of these. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you. I usually, like on FanDuel, where I can bet a decent amount, I'm placing much fewer parlays. On DraftKings, yeah, I am, because with the limits there, it's not like this is a lot different, Levi, than saying, all right, let's say I'm $100 better and I have these minus 110 lines and I want to build a 3-leg parlay, but I bet all of them straight 110 to win 100. And now I'm going to build a parlay out and I'm going to put 50 on that. That's a lot, or even 100 on that. That's a lot different. Like, that's going to end up working heavily against you. If the book is saying, well, you can only get $8 on each of these straight, but then you can put this same player into a parlay 5 different times and you can get $6 down on each of those, well, that's not too bad. So now your exposure to a specific player goes from like $8 to maybe $40 or $50. That's fine, assuming you're sizing it appropriately based on what your bankroll is. For me, for you, Greg, there's really nothing. And this is not like a humble brag by any stretch. I wish I wasn't limited. It doesn't matter what your bankroll is, but if you're limited, you're not even thinking about, like, should I or should I not straight bet it? If you're not limited, that's where you can get yourself into big trouble and size your bets the wrong way. That'll end up burning you.
Yep. Yeah. I don't have any issue with people straight betting at all. In a lot of cases, it's probably going to be preferred.
Yeah. It's just don't do it and then parlay all of them with like a $100 bet after you straight bet all of them. That's all. All right, let's see what we can do, because these are going to disappear on us quickly. I believe a good one already did. We may need to use Derek White.
All right, so if we were, okay, so we got Boston, Sacramento, Washington. No, we could do a Washington, Toronto here.
This is, they're both overs.
Yeah, we could do Chris Middleton over 1.5 threes. We could do Jordan Poole over 2.5 threes. And then we could fill it in with whatever we want. We've got 2 legs now.
Okay. Man, is that a plus 175 on Middleton threes?
It is for over 1.5 threes.
All right. I mean, you can go Miles Turner under 16.5 points against Minnesota.
Could definitely do that. And now we've got a decision to make. Do you want to go with one of the Boston players? We could go to Franz Wagner for under 4.5 assists. That's minus 140. So that is going to be a little bit safer of a prop, just because, it's minus 140 as compared to like a plus 120 bet.
Look, I'm fine with it. It's still going to be well above 10 to 1 because of that Middleton prop.
Yeah. So if we go Chris Middleton over 1.5 threes, Jordan Poole over 2.5 threes, Miles Turner under 16.5 points, and Franz Wagner under 4.5 assists, we get an 11% expected EV on a 1377 line here for the odds.
Just throwing it out there, an Alvarado prop just popped up as well. That has like a 8 OS rating on DK. So I think I'm probably going to throw that one in there for me.
That's related to all the
Oh,
New
right, to
Orleans
the
guys
Zion
getting rolled
stuff.
out.
Thank you. Yep. Good call. Good call. Yep, actually stuff's popping up on both sides of that. Good call. All right, so what does it get us to? 1377 here. Want to get that bet in as quickly as we can. I already opted into the boost to make it a little bit easier. Cool. Man, plus 175 on Middleton. Are there any good FanDuel boosts today? Let's see.
I'll pull up the app.
30% profit boost. Same game parlay, though. That's a little tough.
We'll see.
Usually pretty tough.
Yeah, probably.
Well, we do have a few decent points props. It's a shame we can't.
We've got Miles Turner, Dante DiVincenzo.
Okay.
There's a Sabonis under, a Tatum under.
Wait, same game parlay plus counts too.
For FanDuel?
Yeah.
So it could be two separate same game parlays?
So no, we could just do, I think we could probably just go 2 legs from the same game plus one other individual leg.
Okay. So if we went Miles Turner under 15.5 points, we could, could we do? Oh, no, never mind. All right. So we did Miles Turner under 15.5 points, Dante DiVincenzo under 12.5 points.
Yeah.
And then we could add in this Josh Giddey under 19.5 points, and that gets us to plus 563.
Yeah. Yeah, let me make sure. I had bets hidden here, so that's why it was
okay.
That's why I couldn't see some of these. Okay, there's DiVincenzo. And what was the third one?
So Miles Turner under 15.5 points, Dante DiVincenzo under 12.5 points, and Josh Giddey under 19.5 points.
That should work. Cincy boy, first day using OS, got 97 bets out so far. Awesome, man. That's the way to do it.
What odds are you getting on it with the same game parlay?
All right, so it shows plus 563, 4% EV here, right?
5% expected EV, but yeah, split.
Okay. Plus 515 with the same, because it's the same game parlay. What are the individual odds? Let me make sure they're all still right. Yep, they're all still the same.
Minus 102 for Turner, minus 112 for DiVincenzo, minus 130 for Giddey.
It gets us to plus 669.
Okay, that works.
Yeah. Yeah, and that plus 515 actual odds is because of that correlation tax, but plus 669, you'll take that, man. That's still way better than we're getting, right? So, yeah, grab that. Let me bet that right now. Turner under 15.5 points at minus 102. Giddey under 19.5 points at minus 130. And DiVincenzo under 12.5 points at minus 112. We are locked in. Sweet.
There we go.
Oh, Brett, by the way, I don't know if you noticed, we hit, because you mentioned on Thursday we hit that parlay. Usually, Brett, you fill me in on this. On Friday, we hit the another big 3-leg parlay on FanDuel with that Kevin Durant 25 plus prop in there. I know you were working, Brett, and you might not have been able to grab that, but yeah, we had back-to-back days of parlay hits here on the show, and we only built a few of them out. So yeah.
Yeah, WS. This is a really good comment by WS where he says, if you're new, accept the variance in the bankroll, trust and believe you'll be in the green if you trust the process. Yeah, that's what Lofty and I were talking about at the top, where I had 14 winning days in a row followed by 7 losing days in a row. Like, that's if it was like 2 winning days, 1 losing day, 2 winning days, 1 losing day, you wouldn't think anything of it. But when you have a bunch of losing days in a row, you'd be like, oh my God, you think more of it than it actually is. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs. It's just kind of how it goes.
Can you throw my tweet up real quick from today, just so I can Anybody new here so I can show them. By the way, your first week of Portfolio EV is 100% free. If you just like go in the description here, if you're on your phone, like right under the video screen, right under the video player, click more details on the description and click Get OddsShopper. Your first week is free. You don't have to pay anything. Just do what Cincy Boy's doing. Get as many bets as you can. I like to I think if you're new, you should be filtering out negative HROI. And when you set your portfolios up, like Greg said, either do conservative or just flat bet. Like I think flat betting's perfectly fine. You're going to get 100 bets down a day with something like that. So can do all of that. Download the app. We place all of our bets straight from our phone. So I know you used to. I assume you still do, at least most of them, or your iPad or whatever. But yeah, download that. Turn on notifications. You know, you can do them as short as 1 minute if you want to, but just keep all of that in mind. First week's free. You don't have to pay a cent. If you hate it, whatever, just do yourself this favor. Don't give up before you go down just to the next one. Don't give up before you're in a position to actually start seeing those results. That's all. The next one, Greg, there should be one, not that tweet, not the pinned one.
Oh, I see what you mean. I thought, okay, I misunderstood.
You're good. I just want, this might help. Sorry, there it is. So those are my last 3 days. Actually, no, I had $86 profit yesterday. But if you zoom out, it's been a good month. And it's super easy to only see those 3 days, even if you've had a good month. When you go into a little bit of a downswing or an extended one, Greg, I can't tell you how easy it is to be like, well, you know what? Maybe it was too good to be true. Maybe the ship has sailed. Nothing good happens to me. And then they leave. And then you know what happens? Discord pops off and there's like 12 straight winning days. And they see it all over Twitter and they go, oh, God. It's one of those things where this isn't your data, right? So you're placing your faith in the tools. That's what I do. And it's harder sometimes to stomach or accept some losing days when it's not you originating those bets, even though the data that we have is better than like 99% of people, including myself, would ever be able to come up with on their own. But because you place your faith and your bankroll in that data, you're looking for someone to blame. You're looking for a reason to be like, you know what, maybe this isn't right. And then you bail. But if you start to understand the variance, right, and you start to just zoom out on the big picture, see how other people have performed, because they're not going to bullshit you, and just settle down a little bit and stay with it, even if you have to make a few minor tweaks, you're good. I'll tell you though, and I said this in the tweet, winning with Portfolio EV is super easy. It truly is. It's not tough. The learning curve is minimal. The hardest part about it, by far, is having that fortitude up here, right? Like that capacity to be able to have those losing days and not freak out. That's by far the hardest thing about any of this. Having those losing days and trust that if you continue doing what you're doing, it's going to turn around and you're going to be back in the green. So hopefully that's helpful for any of you guys thinking about this or are new to this. That should go a long way for you in the long run. I know it did for me, because when I first started doing top-down betting, those losing days were really tough to handle. That's all. Anyway.
Just flipping the screen back.
Yeah,
I don't know a good way to, I'll have to figure out. This is new. I've never had to traverse between different tabs without unsharing and resharing.
Now, all you got to do is click share this tab instead up top. So like if you look up top on each tab, it'll say share this tab instead.
Good point. Yeah.
You can just seamlessly switch from one to the other and back to the other. I did that on the snipe session the other day. And I showed my Twitter and I did a full fucking demo on how to build portfolios and forgot to switch back to the portfolio lab. And I didn't even acknowledge it on the show. It was at the end of the show. I was like, I'm just going to assume everyone's checked out by now anyway and pretend it never happened. But yeah, anyway.
I should have known that. I find that annoying that it says it at the top of the screen, but I've never even thought to like
use
I've read it before. I've never thought to just like compartmentalize what it actually says on the screen. I'm just like, this thing at the top of the screen is annoying. Yeah, I should just pressed it.
It's super helpful. I use it on my 3 o'clock Twitter show all the time.
Yeah. Good call.
What else we got? There's a
Well,
lot of bets right
a
now.
lot of DraftKings bets.
Yeah. I was thinking, could we just build out it doesn't have to be like, it's already going to be an EV plus EV bet. Why don't we just build out a couple sick DraftKings parlays?
We could do that.
Anthony, flat betting or Kelly is totally, I personally think it's a preference. I flat bet I don't even know if you'd call it flat betting. Again, it's, bet what you can, but I think both of them are fine. It's just some people have a hard time with the higher OS rating bets putting a larger amount of their bankroll down. With Kelly, I mean.
Yeah, it wouldn't be possible for us to do it.
Yeah. Used to be. I used to all the time. All right. Oh, and I still will with sides for what it's worth if I can.
Okay.
If I can, I will.
Makes sense.
But a lot of them are just limited to like win 100. All right. So we have Marcus Smart. Man, did something just happen with Washington news? Or is DraftKings just mispricing all of these Washington bets?
I didn't see any Washington news. Yeah, there's nothing.
Then there's just some let me bet these then. I'm going to bet these straight real quick.
We go to the top bets tool and we can look at the drop down menus.
Yeah, go for it. Good idea. WS, yeah, that's a perfectly fine idea too, honestly.
Yeah, these are just much different looking than where the market has them.
Go to the graph. Have they moved? Like, did DraftKings just move off a bunch of this?
Not really. Like the line moved a little bit, but not that much. It was minus 125 earlier, and it's minus 110, but also the line move happened like 30 minutes ago now.
Well, praise be. The mass entry tool just let me bet all of them in the matter of seconds. So lovely.
Yeah, I just want to post one of them to Twitter, which I did.
I didn't bet that Miles Turner points yet either, individually, which I want to do. Under 15.5 points on DK or on FanDuel.
Yeah, it was minus 102 at under 15.5.
Sweet. Yeah, I didn't bet that yet. I don't think. I want to check. There we go. Nope. Now we did. Cool. Yeah, the new ability to hide those bets is nice too. AJ Johnson under 3.5 assists on Onyx and DraftKings right now. That's a good one.
Yep.
Onyx moves quick.
The Chris Middleton prop, the Jordan Poole prop. I'm betting those as well.
Yep. Throw them up. Collapse that so other people can bet these with us, by the way.
Yeah, so here's what we have. We've got for the DraftKings ones on the Wizards related, which, by the way, you can make a same-game parlay out of this, too. A.J. Johnson under 3.5 assists, Chris Middleton over 1.5 threes, and Jordan Poole over 2.5 threes.
Sweet. Yeah, perfect. That's another good. Oh, actually, are there multiple? Sometimes they do weird things with this boost pack where they actually get like 3 pregame same-game parlays. Let's see. You use 3 single-use profit boost tokens to use on 4+ legs same-game parlay X bets. Oh, dude, they're all. I'm gonna try and bet another same-game parlay on DraftKings real quick.
Yeah, 20% profit boost. All right, it has to be. I wish we could do it 3 legs and just do the Wizards, guys.
Well, just throw in another plus EV bet.
At least true.
You can do that. It would actually probably be better to do that. Like I'm looking at it right now, and yeah, pull it up. Oh, Siakam just popped, huh?
Yeah, we've got under 31.5 PRA. I think I might have bet that one earlier.
You're on BetMGM, that's why.
I think the line moved on DraftKings, though. There it is. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
So we do have some of the Wizards lines moved as well.
Yeah, I tried to bet them quick.
Yeah, we just got one Wizards bet left on Marcus Smart over 9.5 points. The Derek White prop is still there. We've got this Quentin Grimes prop. It's funny, Grimes props. I don't know if you've noticed this. Grimes props seemingly just perpetually go up over the course of the day. So like they just remain in the tool, but with a different number to where just people love betting Quentin Grimes right now, which I get it. It's the same. We do our DFS shows. All the audience wants to play is Quentin Grimes. That's all anybody. He's like as expensive as LeBron now. He's the only person people want to play.
Dude, there's one of those guys every year. Every single year. Everyone gets hurt, everyone tanks, and then you just ride. It's always a point guard too, by the way, right?
Yeah, I can't remember though a guy who's as marginal as Quentin Grimes being like a 10K player in DFS.
Tony Roten was.
I think he got to be like 6K though, not 10K.
He was like steady triple double. I don't know.
I have to look.
Is that what Grimes is? Is he up near 10K now?
Yes. Yeah.
That's crazy. I saw Josh tweet something. Is it? I assume that people were trolling him because my guess is that he just keeps saying don't play him at this price, and then he keeps nuking, and then
sort of. But here's the other part of it too: is that Quentin Grimes has good games relative to Quentin Grimes, but he's actually had a lot of bad DFS games because his price is so high. And people like, look, I played Quentin Grimes, he scored 50 fantasy points. Like, yeah, except you could have played this guy who's like you could play Giannis at the same price.
Right. 50 isn't good anymore. That's the same thing we were talking about earlier when we had that question about like last 10.
Yeah.
If Quentin Grimes PRA was 27.5 8 games ago, and you're like, well, he keeps going over it. Yeah, but the books are adjusting. Eventually they'll catch up. Like I remember Eric at one point just kept hammering Bojan Bogdanovic points.
Yeah.
And winning. But then eventually you have to jump off.
Yeah, and what happened with, what's funny is he actually never even had to jump off Bogdanovic. What happened is he got traded to the Knicks and then just wasn't relevant anymore. Yeah, Eric had a read on Bogdanovic that he was being undervalued by the books, and they literally never caught up until he just wasn't on the team anymore. So like Eric went for forever just winning Bogdanovic bets, and now he like tore his Achilles or something. I don't even know. I forget what the injury is, but he's maybe never going to play again. And Eric killed him, I guess.
What would you do with this Vez Misi bet over 8.5 rebounds if you want to go back to that top bets tool? Because we know Zion's out. It's minus 105 now on DraftKings.
Yeah, let's see what it looks like. I've already bet. Yeah, I like this. It's minus 130 on FanDuel.
So this is actually a spot right now where I'm building some parlays, and there's a good Kelly Olynyk in there too, that I'm just going to build some parlays, and I'm going to build them out as 3 legs with the parlay generator, right? And I don't need a lot of them. And I'm just going to start placing them. One thing I'd recommend to you guys, especially if you're using your phone, like if you place them and you're on the app, swipe up and just compare odds like that, just to make sure that they didn't change a whole lot. So like here's one, plus 884, 14% AEV, plus 884. Greg, if you open the parlay generator up for DraftKings right now, you'll probably get the same bet. But see, I went over to DraftKings and now it's plus 777 because that Misi bet went to minus 130.
Okay. So you just wanted to go to the parlay generator for DraftKings?
Yeah. And just, I want to show people too, though, that like you have to make sure that you're matching up the odds. When you're using a top-down approach like PortfolioEV, things will change and move quickly. Yeah.
So also, Brett, so keep in mind things have changed with the Misi situation as well. So I also bet the under 8.5, but I bet the over 8.5 now just to get out of it. The reason I did that, the situation has changed. Zion and CJ McCollum were both just ruled out. So like, I'm fine with just being like, hey, whatever. I'm just going to give up a few dollars of equity here and just basically get in on a good bet that will kind of offset the bad bet from earlier. And the bet from earlier was good at the time. There was just new information that came out afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah. So sometimes you do have to be willing. If you can get out of a bet, like, I mean, this is actually kind of an ideal situation for you, right? Taking the under 8.5 and then a bunch of injury news pops up. If you have the opportunity, I'm not saying, I mean, it is actually an opportunity to do so. Like, the opportunity to get out of this is good. It doesn't mean the under 8.5 is going to lose, by the way, at all. Shit, how many plus EV bets do we have here, guys, that don't win, right? Minus EV bets can win too. But if you have an opportunity to get out of it, that's a long-term smart play.
Is the Middleton bet might be gone now, so I'm going to refresh this.
I think it is. Sorry, I'm just trying to jump on as many of these DK bets as possible.
Yeah, let's go to the DraftKings ones right now. Oh no, Middleton's still there. Yeah, the AJ
Brett said
Johnson
too late now. Brett, yeah, look, again though, it's one bet. It's meaningless in the long run. But I was just, adding on to what Greg was saying about he saw a shot to get out of it, so he did. And also, if he bet the over on under on FanDuel and over on DraftKings, you're not fully getting out of that anyway.
Yeah, I have Misi now. So I was just looking at it a second ago. Yeah, I think I have Misi under. I have under 8.5 rebounds at minus 120, and then whatever the over and a half is, like minus 105. I just bet. So yeah. Not going to win on that particular prop, but I'm not going to get killed on it either. And I still think
both on DraftKings.
Yeah, given the information we have right now, the over is, at least as of a couple minutes ago, that was the plus EV line.
It's just nice that you didn't have one on FanDuel and one on DraftKings, because with your limits on DraftKings compared to FanDuel, you'd have a tough time getting close to fully getting out of that bet if you had to bet one on DraftKings.
It's funny Brett brings this up. It was something that I had messaged the devs about last week as well, where he said, question for y'all or the devs. I can't get the saves props on FanDuel to populate. They don't seem to exist at all.
They do exist. You have to find them.
For whatever reason, FanDuel, they don't do this with very many markets. They have different they have different lines and different odds for goalie saves props state by state. So there isn't like one link unless you are because I think like we default to Illinois odds. So some of those markets are not going to exist in certain states, and sometimes the lines and odds are going to be different. It's completely different state by state.
Yep.
You're right, Brett, that some of them don't exist, but they just don't exist in your state. They do in other states. I don't know why they do that for goalie saves, but they do.
Also, some of them do exist. You just have to find them. Like this Ottinger one, they don't exist. I'm looking at it right now. There's only alt saves, but I've had situations recently, and Brett, I'm with you, by the way. It happens to me. Greg and I reached out to the devs about this recently. It happened to me the other day, 3 of them on the same day. 2 of them did exist. I just went in, bet them at those odds, and it worked. But it wouldn't add it to it's the selection not added. What state are you in, Brett? Now I'm curious. Yeah, what state are you in? Isn't that weird though, Greg? Like, I understand it's different. I understand by state, but it's only saves props. It's only FanDuel saves props.
So
I'm in PA too, Brett. There you go.
Yeah. So there's a couple of other markets they do it with. In terms of ones that are supported in our tools, though, it's just that. So there was one I noticed.
Wait, I got to interrupt you. Now it is up, and that bet exists on FanDuel in PA, except it's now minus 102. Go ahead.
The first time I noticed it was actually when we did the company meetup in Chicago a couple of years ago, because I was texting one of my friends about home run derby bets. It took me so long to figure out what it was that was going on. And because of the conversation last week, it kind of sparked it in my head. We were talking about trying to find an edge in home run derby stuff, and we couldn't figure out why. Where I was like, I like this line. And he was like, well, but that's not what the number is. And we were so confused. And we're sending pictures back for like, these are the odds they're giving me. And he's like, that's not the odds I have. And it was when we were in Chicago and he was in New Jersey. Yeah. So for the home run, that was the first time I saw it. It was for home run derby props on FanDuel 2 years ago.
It's very odd. Sonny Jones, terrible show. Thanks, brother.
Yeah, man. Like the video. By the way, also, or down vote. YouTube doesn't even know the difference between upvotes and downvotes. They count all engagements as engagements.
Also, fully admit, a show like this is not going to be for everybody. Like a top-down betting approach is something that if you're not familiar with it, you're like, where are the, show me the last tens. I get it. Show me the whatever data that may be to suggest that it's a good play where it's totally inactionable data that you should not use at all. People like that stuff. That's okay.
That might not even be, Sonny, what is it that you're looking for? Let us know in chat. It could be something totally different. Maybe there's something we haven't thought of.
And if that's the case, feel free to let us know. I want to pull one more thing up before we go though. And I got one coming up on X at 3:00. Come hang out. Be sniping as many bets as we possibly can. Can you go to the parlay builder, not the generator, for BetMGM? I had a feeling we'd be able to make a sick four-legger here, except the problem is those are all New Orleans.
Yeah, it is all New Orleans Pelicans.
Do you think enough time has passed where the dust is settled on these Pels props?
Let's see.
Because that's a lot right there. It's not crazy high OS ratings, but it's a lot.
Yeah, probably not. Let's see, though. I could be proven wrong. FanDuel doesn't have lines up for it yet either. But, it's pretty out of line with what DraftKings has, the under 6.5 rebounds for Kelly Olynyk. What if we look at, say, the Jose Alvarado one? All right, Alvarado.
Man, that incarnate word over 139.5 just smashed. Good way to start the day.
You know what? I think these are good bets to place. Look at Jose Alvarado under 2.5 threes, minus 120 on BetMGM, but it's minus 130 on DraftKings, minus 154 on FanDuel.
So you're okay with these?
Yeah. FanDuel's lines updated, and they're way different than the BetMGM lines. It's just a matter of, what do you think is – it's one of them is wrong. Either FanDuel or BetMGM is wrong. Yep. Based on what we know, I'm way more inclined to say BetMGM is wrong than FanDuel is.
Especially – what market is this?
Threes.
Yep. FanDuel has been a negative ROI site to bet threes on. Same with assists. Same with PRA. But I did grab that over 8.5 for rebounds on Missy at minus 130, which was plus EV on FanDuel. That is now minus 146. So that's moving in the right direction if you grab that. If you got it at minus 105 somewhere, that just looks really good right now. That is the other thing. We talk so often, we can head out after this. We talk so often about not wanting to grab props in the tool the moment that news breaks. And I never will. But I do think, Greg, that there actually is something to be said about the edge that you can find when all of these props pop back up with these, with these new lines, because sometimes you're just going to have books that are wildly off on them and have to overcorrect very quickly. So yep. I think if you get in at the right time on these, it's actually a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think with some of these Pelicans props and the Jose Alvarado one in particular, for sure.
Anyway, I appreciate you guys. Remember, if you're hanging out, you want to check the tools out. Two things. Greg and I, are your DMs still open? People can still hit you up?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. My DMs will be open until I die or until I get bored and leave social media or something.
At Laffy_D, LOUGHY_D for me. At G Ehrenberg for him, GEHRENBERGDFS. We got to get our handles up here again. We need them. We'll hit Joey up. But hit us up. Links in the description. Your first week, 100% free. Get as many bets down as you can each day. That's it. Just bet. Even if you're using flat bet and not Kelly, it doesn't matter. Just get them down. Smooth out that variance. Start making some money. Join the Discord. You can do it through the app or through the website in the top right where your profile settings are. Great community. They can help you. I don't know. I think that's it. But your first week's free. You don't have to pay a cent.
Nothing else for me.
We'll see you guys back here tomorrow on the EV Strategy Show right here on the OddsShopper channel. Peace.